Hi guys, Kurt sent me a message and asked me to do a bit of an explanation and demo and stuff about superimposing modes over chords. I suppose the basic theory behind this is looking at each chord you're playing over individually rather than looking at the whole key. The mindset I use is I would take a chord progression. So let's say if we were playing E minor, A minor. They're the two chords we're using. We'll look at that and we'll break it down. So we might say that we're on an E minor for 4 beats. And naturally the E minor would be... So if I just move... Now a couple of things that we need to take into consideration is what mode or even what key we would be in. So how many sharps and flats we would have. With music theory, there is a thing called the circle of fifths, which helps give direction. Basically, the gist of this is, for a major chord, you'll start off in your C major. Now, if you're wondering why it sounds a bit different, I'm in E flat tuning as usual, so it's the equivalent of a B, but stick with me for the theory. So we've got a C major. That has no sharps and flats. If you go to the fifth of that chord, so in this case G, G has one sharp, which is the F sharp. Now if you go to the fifth of that D, D has two sharps, which is F sharp and C sharp. And if you go to the fifth of that, you're on A has three sharps, and so on. You get the idea. So you get this F, C, and G sharp in that case. It also works if you kind of do that in reverse. So the way I think of this is going down in a fourth. So if you start in C and go down a fourth to your F, you now have B flat in there. So that just gives you that quick direction. I suppose how I like to think this, and my quick reference tip for you is start with your C, and then just remember that moving up in a fifth pattern. So it has 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And the same the other way. 1, 2, and so on and down. Obviously starting up high. With your minors, A minor is the relative minor for C, so A minor has no sharps and flats. Now, as we've kind of do the same thing again, we go up by a fifth, E minor has one sharp. Now, I won't get too much into kind of the theory about the melodic and harmonic minors bit for harmonic and for your melodic. We won't worry too much about them now. We'll just kind of stick with the natural minor, or the Aeolian mode as it's called. Now how I like to think of things is, for each major or minor chord, there are three options that we have. We have the Aeolian, we have the Phrygian, and we have the Dorian modes that we can kind of choose from the minor. And for the major, we have the Ionian, Lydian, and Mixolydian modes. There is the Locrian mode, which is the 7th mode, which is you diminish your... But it's not generally one we use an awful lot unless we're kind of doing the more advanced stuff. So at this stage we almost a little bit ignore that. So a very quick demonstration of this is, if you've got your E minor, which in this case I can use the E as a drone in the bottom. If we were to stick to the Aeolian mode, we know that it's just got the F sharp. But we now have these three options, so we may be in the key of G major, which gives us that one F sharp. But actually, to make it sound a bit more interesting, we may say, I want to bring this sound down a little bit, so I'm actually going to play the Phrygian mode. Now, I think of this as like a triangle with your Aeolian at the top, which has your keys natural sharps or flats, in this case F sharp. You then have the Phrygian, and you have the Dorian mode. If we rotate it so we're now in the Phrygian, we basically take away a sharp or add a flat. if we start with the Aeolian at the top and we click it the other way to the Dorian, we then add a sharp or take away a flat. So in this case you have E Aeolian, we then have E Phrygian, or we have E Dorian. So here's the three together, and it will go Aeolian, Phrygian, Dorian. So you can see how quite quickly they change the tone of it. So if you were to have something like an E minor go, we're playing Aeolian at the moment. There's your Phrygian. And there'd be your Dorian. So quite quickly there you can change the sound of a piece just by changing that one note in either direction. I'll leave that as this first video so you can kind of have a play with it. The exercise I generally use to this is get your metronome going. So something just dead simple like that. Put an E chord down, record the E chord, and just play with it. And as I say, I will leave it for there for this one, and then I'll do a part 2 in a second.